This is difficult for me. Meghan and Harry, I find this, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of sick in my mouth as I try and describe this. Because
Seeing is that both of them, having posed as the victim for so long, are really the aggressors.
The stories and the speculation and the questioning about the origin of both children.
One quiet edit on a royal birth certificate, and the entire timeline cracks open. A single line moves, and suddenly, the photo op that never happened, the doctor who never steps forward, and the log that never surfaces start to matter. If privacy was the story, the timestamps read like PR. Tonight, we're lining up the sequence, the paperwork, and the missing witness to see where the narrative bends.
And then they had their little children, and the feral children, and they left them with the chickens. And all she does now with her jams that are crap is post pictures of her children.
Instance of this is damaging to the royal family, and damaging to supporters, to the interests of the royal family.
We're not chasing gossip, we're testing a timeline. If the receipts exist, this folds fast. If they don't, the wobble becomes the story. Tap like and hit subscribe, let's dig in. The speakers allege Harry and Meghan perfected the art of looking besieged, while quietly engineering the mystery that keeps the spotlight fixed on them.
They have created the stories and the speculation and the questioning about the origin of both children. I wasn't born yesterday, and I know that 2 and 2 make 4, they don't make 22.
Except if you reverse the camera and play the day-by-day footage the way these commentators frame it, the questions aren't about tabloid nosiness, they're about protocol, which in royal land doubles as documentation. Switch. Every time the couple says boundaries, the critics say blank spaces.
They could easily squash this, and they don't. What's odd to me is this is it's popular theory that goes, and the bump, the moving, all this stuff.
Playing it. She's waiting for she's twerking with the baby to try and make the baby come. This is to induce Elizabeth's birth.
And in a family where ritual is evidence, blank spaces read like red flags. What makes this stick isn't one giant accusation, but a rhythm of small mismatches. A press note here, an edit there that builds a drumline of doubt. And while defenders hear harassment, skeptics hear a case file opening. Either way, you lean in, because the next beat always promises one more reveal. The video's portrait of royal birth protocol is crisp. Vetted obstetricians, palace physicians looped in, rolling updates, and the hospital steps moment that acts like a notarized stamp. Except according to the speakers, Archie's arrival didn't follow that choreography, and the void where the photo op should have been is the first pattern break. Switch. What looks like a modern boundary can also look like bypassing the receipt printer. The commentators push a simple proposition: remove the big public proof, and you owe the audience a tighter private chain of custody. Twist. When the public got a delayed statement instead of the usual minute-by-minute confirmations, the narrative slid from healthy privacy to missing pieces, and missing pieces in a monarchy become plot points. That's the first curiosity loop. If protocol equals proof, why not show the proof everyone else showed? Pin that, because the loop snaps shut when we get to the paperwork, and the paperwork is where true crime viewers perk up. Switch in tone investigator mode, short sentences, who signed, who witnessed, who briefed, no moralizing, just a checklist, then back to narrator voice. The moment protocol vanishes, PR becomes the only oxygen left in the room, and PR spoiler always fogs the glass. The timecode twist lands next. The video frames a sequence where Meghan was reportedly announced as being in labor hours after Archie had allegedly already been born, except under normal palace practice, that would trigger an immediate correction. Switch. No immediate correction appears in the telling, so time, the most boring element in most stories, becomes the loudest. And when time is off, everything can be off: who was present, who authorized, who knew. Curiosity loop. Imagine a digital slate on screen in labor versus already born, and watch the red line jump past the green one. The commentators pitch this as a logistical impossibility, and whether you buy that phrasing or not, the effect works because it trades speculation for sequence. Another tweak: if the palace truly meant to shield the family while maintaining trust, the video argues it would release a simple clarifier. No clarifier becomes a second pattern break, and pattern breaks, stacked, create the impression of curation. Switch again. We're not in scandal mode, we're in version control mode. asking which version was pushed live and why. When timelines disagree, one of them is a draft, and drafts raise the question of edits. Traceability is the next pivot. The speakers claim informal checks with Portland Hospital and Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital turned up staff and security logs that didn't place Meghan there on the reported dates. Except this is presented as their reporting, not court file discovery. Still, in the retention game, absence plays like presence when the stakes are public. Twist: in a high-profile royal-adjacent birth, you'd expect escalated security sweeps, controlled access, and named professionals. The videos claim that those verifiers don't surface turns the "who saw what" question into the star character. Switch to jury mode. You don't need to prove a negative to sense a mismatch between what should exist and what anyone will confirm. Curiosity loop. If the logs exist, a redacted line would douse the fire, so why let it burn? The commentators, again speaking for themselves, imply the silence is strategy. A harsher read is cover story. And here's the retention spike. If a detail as mundane as a front desk entry can calm a global debate, refusing to show it feels less like privacy and more like story control, the audience can smell curation, and curated mysteries always grow. Paperwork becomes the thriller prop. The video notes Archie's certificate was quietly amended, removing Rachel Meghan, inserting Prince before Harry's name, and then points to Lilibet's certificate, which online sleuths cited for a state code that didn't match California's standard. Twist: corrections happen, codes glitch, but quiet edits in a hostile media climate bend behavior into meaning. Switch: is an amendment a clerical shrug or a strategic sandpapering? The commentators say the latter, pitching brand calibration and future-proofing as motives. Curiosity loop: if it's nothing, say it's nothing, explain, and close the tab. When explanations don't arrive, viewers default to theory. Now a quick pattern break-in. Screen checklist, protocol step, doctor of record, hospital confirmation, certificate consistent psychic. Tick, pause. The pause is the point. Even defenders feel the drag of "why so opaque?" Remember, none of this in the video is presented as a court finding. It's a media case driven by anomalies. Except audiences trained by docudramas elevate anomalies into anchors. In that attention economy, an amended form isn't a footnote, it's the cliffhanger before the ad. The doctor question turns the screw further. According to the commentators, the Queen's offer of royal physicians was declined in favor of private doctors whose roles and identities the palace couldn't later verify. Switch: in ordinary life, private doctors are fine. In institutional life, they're a break in the chain of official custody. Twist: the moment you step off the record, you need another record to validate the step. The video contends that second record never appears. Curiosity loop: who signed the equivalent of the "we were there" line? The commentators say you won't find that line, and that absence becomes a character all on its own. Call it Dr. Missing. Flash to investigator cadence. If every royal birth for decades has signatures, statements, and a photo call, the outlier must be either a brave, modern exception or an engineered blind spot. Switch back to narrator. The split screen is the show on one side, tradition. On the other, customization. The more customized the moment, the more the audience wants the receipt. If the receipt doesn't materialize, suspicion metastasizes from 1 question to 10. That's how a headline turns into a saga. Stakes spike when the speakers venture into constitutional territory, asserting that if surrogacy occurred and wasn't disclosed within accepted norms, status questions might follow. Twist: this is where personal choices collide with institutional paperwork. Not a judgment on family building, but a debate over formalities. Switch: the critics ask is cold and specific redacted medical confirmations, verifiable logs, named professionals, defenders hear invasion, skeptics hear minimum viable transparency. Curiosity loop: what single document would actually end the argument? If there's an answer, it's the paper that proves who delivered, where, and when. The video's energy ramps here because succession is a nuclear word in any monarchy story, and nuclear words hold attention. Still, clarity matters. These are their claims and concerns. Our job as viewers is to separate rhetoric from requirement. Pattern break suggestion for your cut. A lower third comparing historic royal birth verification steps versus what's publicly asserted here. The visual contrast sells itself, and contrast is the heartbeat of retention. The media legal chessboard is the next twist. The speakers describe rapid legal threats that chill reporting without curing doubt, plus a reliance on friendly platforms to control the message. Switch. A letter can silence a reporter but amplify a rumor. That's the paradox. The video also frames the couple's brand as built on authentic family storytelling through interviews, documentaries, even kid-focused pitches, meaning any crack in the "this is how our family came to be" narrative threatens both reputation and revenue. Twist. When a narrative doubles as a business model, the stakes aren't just PR, they're PL curiosity loop. If numbers wobble on streaming projects, does the need for control tighten elsewhere? The commentators imply yes. The counterpoint is obvious: privacy has value even when business is booming. But the through line of the video is that aggressive narrative control without third-party corroboration looks like a tell. Pattern break for your edit. Flash, claim, corroboration. Toggles in the lower third, and every time corroboration is missing, the toggle clicks to pending. Small animation, big effect. Medical claims resurface with an extra jolt. Lady C in the video disputes later stories about preeclampsia and fast food pit stops during labor, calling the timeline medically implausible without serious documentation. Twist. This is a minefield: privacy, health, emotion, but the commentators play it clinically, leaning on what they say experts would expect to see. Hospitalization, specialist notes, postnatal protocols. Switch. The absence of proof argument returns, which is rhetorically strong but factually tricky. Still, for retention, the juxtaposition is dynamite emergency claim versus empty file. Curiosity loop. If a single discharge note with a timestamp exists, why not redact and release? Defenders counter with privacy, which is valid. Skeptics volley with precedent: past royal births got third-party confirmations without revealing intimate details. Pattern break in your cut. Side by side, royal medical confirmations. Then versus point now, with blur boxes over sensitive bits. The visual says, this can be done without oversharing, a point the commentators keep hammering. As the video's narrative widens, it strings prior controversies as patterns. Disputed statements about books and letters, aides contradicting talking points, bullying accusations that fizzled in the public eye. Twist. In this framing, each unverified claim doesn't vanish, it compounds, like interest, raising the cost of the next ask for belief. Switch. The commentators push the idea that the couple weaponizes legal pressure and sympathetic media to smooth edges rather than resolve core contradictions. Whether you buy that or not, it's an effective storytelling device because it reframes isolated issues as chapters of one book. Curiosity loop. Which single confirmation would shatter the pattern theory? Probably a named physician on record, the video suggests. Pattern break. On screen, chapter, stamps timeline, logs, paperwork, doctors, medical claims. Each time you revisit one, the stamp flashes open or closed. If they're all open, the viewer's brain screams for closure, keeping them watching even as the runtime ticks past the 9-minute mark. The closing argument tightens like a drum. The speakers insist this isn't about trolling a family, it's about institutional clarity. Twist. They frame silence as the antagonist, the shadow that keeps swallowing straightforward questions. Switch. The demand is stark: open the logs, show the authorizations, let named professionals confirm, and this evaporates. Without that, every new claim, every amended line, and every threatened lawsuit only hardens public doubt. In the attention economy, ambiguity pays for a while, then it bankrupts trust. Now your retention lock. Ask the audience to choose the one action that would settle it for them: doctor's statement, hospital confirmation, or palace memo and promise to tally results for a follow-up. Final curiosity loop. Tease that next episode I'm assembling a line-by-line comparison of historic royal birth protocols versus the Sussex timeline, as publicly described. If you want the receipts laid out side by side, comment "compare" and I'll drop the full breakdown. And the final disclaimer, because precision matters. Everything you just heard is a summary of what the commentators in the Binge Central video allege. They are responsible for those claims, not this channel. Our job is to test narratives, highlight gaps, and ask for verifiable answers, because in the end, truth is the only plot twist that sticks.